Welcome back all, this is Daz from Model Techniques. Up this week I'm going to look at doing a DCC sound decoder swap out. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to walk you through with the Loksound side of things, Loksound Programmer, how to download some sound, a sound project I should say, from the ESU website, put it onto that decoder, and then probably in a second video I'll look at showing you installing the decoder. So the decoder I'm going to use is the Loksound version 5, and the locomotive I'm going to look at doing it is in this Deutsche Reichsbahn 02 model, which is a steam engine by Roco. So this has got a bit of sentimental value, this one. This is nearly 20 years old. I got given this for a wedding present from my father. So it's got a version 3 decoder in it, 8-pin plug, so I just want to update it, get nicer sound onto it, and get it back onto the layout. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing I always like to do is to obviously test the decoder. So the reason I like doing that is, even though you buy a new decoder, there could be an issue with it. So by the time you sometimes locomotives are quite cumbersome to get taken to pieces, even the DCC ready ones. Install the decoder, program it, and then realise there's something wrong with the decoder. So I always like to do that. So I've actually got here an ESU decoder tester. So that takes all various types of plugs that I mentioned, or interfaces like I mentioned in my last video. So this little guy, there it is, that's the one we're going to install, is an 8-pin plug. And so I'll plug that in. So the first thing I always like to do is make sure the motor runs. So you can see here by the little flywheel the motor is running. Then the next thing I like to do is just make sure the lights are working, so you can see the LED that pops up there. So this is the beauty of this little guy, is all these lights here represent different functions, so you can actually play around with them, turn it on and off as you're programming, which is a great little feature. Just make sure it goes in reverse correctly. You can see the red light comes on. Now this is an older version of the decoder tester, so this speaker here I wouldn't suggest to use, because it's going to be outside of what the version 5 likes in regards to the impedance of the speaker. So I'm going to install the one that came with the decoder, and we're just going to go from there, because I know that's going to be the correct impedance for that particular locomotive. Being the previous, not quite sure what the impedance on the previous decoder is, that was factory fitted, but I just want to make sure that we've got an updated speaker, the correct impedance, and also it's going to sound a lot better than a 20-year-old speaker that's probably currently in it. So I'm sort of glad I did do that little test before, because that decoder I noticed after about 20 seconds it was just stopping. So then I picked the decoder up and it was actually really hot. So there's obviously something wrong with that decoder. It was a brand new one out of the packet. So we'll check this one, that's not getting hot at all, so happy with that. So the other one will have to go back to where I bought it, and for a warranty claim. Okay, so what we're going to look at doing now is I'm going to walk you through how to, find the correct sound file with ESU, and then download it, and then the third part of this is how you upload it to your DCC decoder. Before we go over to there, we're going to look at getting a quick message from my sponsor, PCBWay.com. PCBWay offers a variety of services ranging from PCB production and assembly to 3D printing, CNC machining, in a variety of materials. If you do not have the correct tools for the job, you can quickly upload your Gerber file for a PCB and press enter and get a quote in no time at all. Then select your material, finish, and other post-processing customization like PCB assembly, where all the components are added. If you are new to PCBs, their professional review team will review your file and notify you once they are good to be manufactured. This makes PCBWay a good option for your projects. Check out their awesome services in the link below and their offer to my viewers who support this channel. So the first thing, and I'll put all these links below, you go to ESU download sounds, so you can sort of see where we are here. Now, you can go back to the beauty of the version 5s is my understanding, and please comment below if I've got this wrong, but you can basically grab a sound file from version 3 and put it on a version 5 and still have all the functionality and remap it if that's the way you want to do the functions. So initially I went into the Loksound version 5 and they don't have a BR02, but what I have since learnt in Wikipedia is due to some design issues with the O2, they converted them back. So I'll just read a little bit out of Wikipedia. Because of the class O2, which is what I've got, engines were badly designed. The compound engine can only produce a high level of power at speeds above 70 kilometers an hour. In addition, below 100 psi, its steam consumption was higher than that of the O1. So pretty well in short, they had the new locomotive, and compared with the class 1s, these engines had a complicated and therefore maintenance intensive drive, and as a result no more of them were ordered. And the others, so between 1937 and 1942, the vehicles were successfully converted back to the 2-cylinder version, which is, and then regrouped back to the class 01. So I think that's just a little interesting history lesson there. So we're going to go with the 01 sound. As I said, my version came with a factory installed decoder, so I couldn't tell you what sound file it is. But that's what we're going to go with, and we'll go from there. So we've got two different versions of the O1. Obviously we're in German here, so we've got oil and coal. So mine is the coal burning version. And now just to go up, so what you can actually do is you can narrow down by type, so steam, diesel, electric or other, and you can drill right down to country as well. So, and then over here you just put what you want in there and you go from there. So obviously I've since found out, as I just spoke about on Wikipedia, I'm going to download the coal version of the BR01 or the class 1. So what it does, you just go and click on it. Like all things, just you're signing a waiver or accepting the terms and conditions. You're pretty well not going to sell these sounds effectively. And then what it's going to do, it's going to go off into your downloaded file and as a zip file. So of note also, which I think is really handy, is it gives you all the functions and how they're mapped, and that'll become more apparent later on when we have a look into the functionality side of things. I don't often touch a lot of these. The only ones I might turn around and touch is I like my sound on and off as so yep, they've actually done this now. So previous versions, I'm pretty sure sound used to be an F8, so it's now an F1, which is what I like. So what we got open here is I'm about to open the ESU lock programmer up. Now there's a few different settings right the way through here. So the main two that you're going to use over time is modify the settings of the decoder. So that's if you just want to modify some CVs, maybe the sound is too loud or not enough, you can play around with function mapping, and the sky's the limit regarding that. And one we're going to look at is perform a complete decoder upgrade, or update I should say. So with that, what we're going to do, a very simple, and it's going to point the browser or your Explorer to where your lock programmer files sit. So mine don't actually sit there, so it's just a matter of going in. As I said, this is a Windows machine. It's just a matter of going to where you've got your file and you open it up. And probably what you'll actually see here is you'll see the lights flashing on and on. You might even, the motor might start twitching as well there. Okay, so what we've got here, we've got the main interface opened in Decoder. I was going to say Decoder Pro. It's not Decoder Pro. It's the ESU lock programmer. So the first thing I normally do is update the address to the locomotive that I want. So my addressing system is the last 4 digits of the locomotive road number. So if there's only 2 digits, I'll obviously use the last 2. If there's only 1, I'll use the very last one. So this locomotive is 0201, so I won't put the 0 in front. I'm just going to use 200 201 I should say. So with that, you go to the task or the toolbar at the top here, and it should pop up. That's actually right to the to the decoder. So it's a matter of that. Now a little prompt is going to come up, so you can either do programming on the main track, which I don't have. I always do it on a designated programming track. So overwrite defaults with current values. So that's what we're going to do. So that's just going to change our decoder address from away from the default number 3 to 201. So save and proceed. So that's now going to save it to this file up here that we saved into our own unique Explorer folder. Alright, so what we're going to do now is, at this point we don't have the sound file actually on the Loksound decoder. So the facility is obviously in the background, so all the sounds are sitting in the background here. So what we need to do is we need to go into where it says to upgrade or update the sound. So it's a little musical sign with an arrow pointing to the right. So we're going to left mouse button click on that. Alright, so a little prompt has come up, write sound data, updating sound data of the decoder. So this can actually take a fair bit of time. Sometimes they're saying up to 30 minutes. I'm not going to let you sit through that. We'll buzz through that very, very quickly. So there's a few different options here. So it's write decoder data, so that's obviously we need to do that. So we're overriding whatever's already on there. So where that comes important is if you've got a decoder that is read write like these ones are, and there's a different type of sound or another factory sound, it might be a diesel, you want to overwrite those sounds, and just be mindful you will lose all those sounds. And obviously overwrite defaults with current values. So that's what we're just talking about. So we're going to go next, and you'll see the write sound data, and this will just start buzzing across. So it's just initializing the saving process now. Now we're up to writing sound data, and you can see the little bar there.
A few moments later.
Alright, so now we're at a point that the sound file has been uploaded. Now, I'm not sure why ESU don't do this, but it doesn't actually have an acknowledgement that the download is complete. The little green bar you saw going across before, all it does, it just disappears after it's finished. Alright, so what we'll quickly do, as I said, I like to make sure the decoder, all the functions are working properly before we look at doing anything with the CV wise or playing with sounds and the like. So first thing I look at, look at doing the motor. You can see that's in reverse direction. You can see that's spinning quite nicely. Alright, then obviously forward direction. Now turn the light on and off. That all appears to be working really nicely. So now we're going to look at doing the sound. So the short whistle. So what we can look at doing, we'll just get going, starting here. So it's a bit hard to tell on the video, but the difference in the sound is just amazing between the version 5, so version 3.5 and the version 5, which this is. Here's that speaker is clipping a little bit, so I might have to look at how we're going to bring down the volume a little bit. Alright, so that's all good. I'm happy the way that's coming along. We're not overheating, which is good, like we did with the last decoder that got sent back to the shop. So what we'll look at doing now is just going through a very quick install, how I'm going to install this into the locomotive. As I said, this is an 8-pin plug, so it's going to be very quick and easy plug and play. I can't remember where the speaker on this locomotive is, so we might have to make the cables a little bit longer maybe, or shorter, I'm not sure. We'll just have to see how that plays out. So we'll head over to the workbench. Alright, so just a little bit of word of warning here. particularly when you're going with a sound decoder with an old speaker. So the older speakers, to my knowledge, and particularly the ones I've had dealings with, are an impedance up to 100 ohms. Alright, so just looking in the ESU website, at the recommended impedance permitted for a Loksound version 5 is between 4 and 32 ohms. So anything above that potentially could destroy your decoder. So, and also on the back side of that, it can take up to 3 watts. So the speaker I'm going to use is 1.5 watts, so at 4 ohms. So we're well in between. We're well between the guidelines of what that we're doing. So just be very, very mindful. I will put a link to this below regarding how to look this up yourself. But just make sure your speaker impedances are correct. Also, the other thing you need to be very mindful of, and I've got it up here on the screen here under the technical data. Now, some of the older speakers, the older motors in locomotives, particularly older Roco ones, might have a too higher ampage requirement. So this Loksound 5 decoder has a motor current can only go up to 1.5 amps. So obviously the newer motors are a lot more efficient. I'm not going to go into how you would measure that. There's plenty of other videos how you can do it at ampage at stall rates and the like. So alright, so that's the end of the video. So like always, I have 3 questions. So number 1, for you Loksound users out there, is it the sort of decoder that you might use? Obviously there's Soundtracks, there's Digitracks, there's all sorts around that are very good decoders as well. But at this point in time, I've got the hardware to be able to do everything I need to do from a Loksound point of view. So hence why I've gone down that rabbit hole. So I'm very interested in what you guys and girls out there use in your locomotives. Just list it in the description below. Number 2, and if you're not into Loksound decoders or DCC decoders, I was very interested in your comments as well. How you running your layout? Put it in the comments below. And number 3, if there's any glaring errors that I've omitted in this video, please put in the comments also. I'll endeavour to update the description or a part of the video or release another video to right my wrongs in that way. So thanks for watching. That's obviously the end of the video. So if you could give the video a big thumbs up if it's the sort of video you like watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Click on that little bell icon to be notified of upcoming content. So I'll see you next time.